Okay, so this week we're going to talk about selections. And the one on the left is the beginning file, the start file. The one on the right is the one that you're creating. In fact, this is a little bit more than the book says. I'm going to show you how to take this to another level here. But you'll see how this goes. Let's start off with this one over here on the left. So I'll click on this and arrange our, there we go. And I'm going to hit Command 0, Control 0 for the Windows types. Okay, so what we want to talk about here are what's called selections. Let me go back up here and fix this. I didn't fix my little scrubby zoom thing. There we go. And we've got several selection tools here. There's the rectangular tool, the elliptical marquee, the pointless single row and single column tools. You'll never use them. I've used them once in 20 years and it was just to try it out. You've got the lasso tools. You've got the lasso, polygonal lasso, magnetic lasso, and the magic wand. Let me hold that one down. There we go. Magic wand and quick selection. Quick selection is the newest of the tools and it's really great. Let me just show you roughly what a selection is. I'll go back to the rectangular marquee tool here. And what a marquee does, or what any selection does, is to tell Photoshop where you want to work. Right now I've just told Photoshop by drawing this box that I want to work inside this shape. I'm going to make changes. So example, I will go get the brush tool, I'll hit the bracket a couple times, and I will draw in this area only. Notice how it masks out anything outside the shape. Okay, undo, Command Z. Okay, so that's a selection. That's just all we're telling Photoshop is we're going to do something cool here. Okay, inside the shape. And that's pretty much it. The other tools here do pretty much the same thing. We've got the elliptical tool. I'll show you how to do that in a bit, but that's basically just an ellipse, or we can flatten it out as well. And then we've got lasso tools, which are free form tools. So you can quickly do this kind of a thing, and then when you let go, boom, it takes on the shape of what you've just drawn. You've got a magnetic lasso tool, which, well, you'll see how this goes. Let's just do this. We're going to start off with the quick selection tool. And I'm going to get rid, by the way, keyboard shortcut here, to get rid of a marching ant, you can either just kind of click on something, and look what happened there. I just clicked over on that, and that sand dollar got picked up just like that. And it does a very good job. I love this tool, the quick selection tool. I mean, it does a very surgical job of picking up and selecting big areas. It helps that this particular selection, this particular item, the sand dollar, is similarly colored, but it does a very good job. Well, now all we've got to do is to move it into place. Let me go look at the final version of this, see where the sand dollar goes. It goes over down here about 7 o'clock on the screen, so I'll just pick it up with the move tool, letter V on your keyboard. Remember that one? That one's up here. And I'll pick this up and just move it over here. So it's about 7 o'clock, right? And how far is, oops. It's actually kind of over the edge there. Okay, so as long as it's still selected, I'll kind of push it over the edge. Yay. That is the quick selection tool. Now let me give you a brief example. I'm going to deselect this, Command D. Remember, it's Control D for the PC people. So let's say that I wanted to just quickly grab something like this. It grabs many colors, but you can continue to add to your selection. And look what a good job that did. I mean, it is, again, very surgical. Now, it grabbed a little bit much there. Now, I'm going to back up, and I'm going to either hit the minus key or this key, this thing up here, which is the subtract. And what it allows me to do is notice how it kind of has the marching ant basically captured part of that white stuff when I clicked on it. What I want to do is to subtract that white business, boom, a little bit over here, and now you can see that there's a path going around this entire area. Now there's some areas you could still tidy up. Excuse me. So I can make my brush really small now and continue to subtract and paint in this area. It's basically like a paintbrush. That looks pretty good. Now there's a little bit of boogery white stuff there that I need to get out of the way. And it looks pretty good. Unfortunately, this wasn't the tool I meant to show you. So I'm just going to keep on going. Let's see, next on my list is the elliptical tools. Let's talk about the elliptical tool. That is the circular shape over here. It says elliptical marquee, so I'll choose that. And I'm going to focus on this guy over here. Now, if you remember the car file we did last week, this is a little tricky. So, you know, I can draw a big circle. Actually, I'll just draw a big circle right now. It's a little flattish, don't you think? So I'll just draw a big circle here and see what that looks like. It could be bigger. This is one of those situations where I'm going to start at the center, and I believe I demonstrated this in class, that if you hold down the Option key, look what happens. You can see the marching ant there, and I can size this to where I want it. Now, if it's not exactly perfect, that's okay, because the neat thing about marching ants is, as long as I still have a marching ant based tool, one of these 9, those 4, or these 3, or, sorry, these 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah, 9. Any one of those 9, I can pick up and move the marching ant. So I'll do it as, I think it fell apart here, so I'll do it again. So I'll click and drag at the center, hold down the Option key so you can see what I'm doing, and then I will size this up, and it's just a little bit bigger than I need, or it's a little off center. So let me size that a little bit more cleanly. There we go. And remember, as long as I have a marching ant base tool, I can pick this up and move it inside. If I click outside that marching ant shape, it won't work as well. It's still a little bit too big. Unfortunate. This does take a little bit of practice. I'll do this again. Click Option, and let's see. Yeah, circle doesn't work. I'm holding down the Shift key as well. But if I hold just the Option key down, I can get a better thing, get a better selection. And I'm going to leave it like that, and I'm going to now use my arrow keys. I've been using just the marquee, I'm sorry, the elliptical, I can't even talk today. I've been using the marching ant base tool. I can use the arrow keys. Notice that I've got a little bit of a section over there that could be tighter. And I'm just going to move my arrows on the keyboard. Left arrow, left arrow, left arrow, left arrow, left arrow. Now I'm actually going to wind up cutting inside my shape a little bit. And we'll go with that. Okay, and where does this one go? This one goes at the upper left, and it's about 10 o'clock, and it does overlap that edge as well. Okay, so now, again, the Move tool, letter V on your keyboard, and I will pick this up and move it over here. And having the advantage of actually leaving a few pixels around the edge there is actually that you don't wind up with any white pixels on your selection. I'm going to hit Command D here on the Mac to get rid of my marching ants. Okay, what's next? Next is the, let's see, the label. Okay, so the label one is going to use the, well, we're going to use the same tool we did before, the elliptical tool. So I will go here and get this as best I can. Remember the keyboard shortcut for zooming in? Do you remember that one? It's spacebar, Command, and then draw a box around what you want to zoom into. It just makes life a lot easier. Okay, so what I'm going to do is start roughly in the center here, hold down the Option key. I think I'm on the center, a little bit far away there. Okay, good. I'm going to try that one more time. As I said, this does take a bit of practice. And click, hold down the Option key, and I'll let you see where I am here. Okay, I'm going to cut this in just a little bit more. Okay, and I'm going to use my arrow keys on my keyboard just to kind of move this over and down to the right a little bit. Good, on the inside, clearly inside the shape, and we will leave some marking there. Okay. Now, again with my Move tool, letter V, I will move this over like so. Where does this live? This lives roughly about 1 o'clock. Cool. And then we've got the labels getting progressively larger. Okay. Well, first of all, before we go any further, you'll notice that this is kind of a gold, and this is a blue label. Well, we're going to reverse this out. We're going to change colors here. And this lives in the image menu. Go down to adjustments, and then go down to invert. So this takes the opposite color of what it is. So whatever is black will be white. Whatever is gold will be bluish. And here we go. By the way, Command I is the keyboard shortcut there. Control I on the PC. Boom. Now there's your label. But we're not done here yet. We're going to do a couple of things. Well, actually one main thing, but do it twice. I'm going to duplicate this. So right now I've got the Move tool, and I'm going to take whatever's selected here, and I'm going to duplicate it. Watch how I do this. This involves a keyboard shortcut. I'm going to hold down Option. Okay, so there's the keyboard shortcut at the bottom of the screen. But look what happens to my cursor now as I move this around here. That is a double arrow, which basically looks like kind of a Xerox copy. Well, that's what we're going to do. So I will click and drag this and make this a little bit larger. I'm sorry, move it over, and I'll make it larger with the next step. Okay, the next step is to use this tool here. This is called Free Transform, which does, actually Free Transform does three things. It will move shapes, it will scale shapes, and it will rotate shapes. All we really want it to do is just scale shapes. Now, all those things are broken out into individual tools here, but I like using the Free Transform because it has a keyboard shortcut. Command T. Okay, so now when you put the Command T transform tools on here, now I'm going to drag this thing out here. Now notice how it's kind of squishy. It can go either way. Now if I hold down the Shift key while I do this, it will remain proportional. Okay, so roughly that size is cool. And I'm going to cover this up a little bit more. Notice that I have to just click on the pixels. That's not bad right there. I'm going to put this over a little bit more. Nice. Okay. Now to confirm this, I can either hit this checkbox or check mark here, or I can hit the 10 key, the Enter key on my 10 keypad on the very, very far right of my keyboard. I'm going to hit this over here for now. There we go. Notice that there's marching ants still on this. Okay. So for my money, I'm going to do the same thing again. I've still got the Move tool selected. I'm going to come down here and duplicate it by holding down the Option key, and I'll draw another one, and I will scale this one up as well. So that's Control. Keep forgetting I'm on a Mac. I'm on Command key. Let's try English. Command T. There we go. All right. Now I'll grab a corner, and remember to keep it proportional, holding down the Shift key right about there. Super duper. And this time I'll hit the Enter on my 10 keypad. Boom. And I'm also going to get rid of my marching ants by holding down Command D. Control D if you're on the PC. And that's looking pretty cool. I'll turn off my mask here so you can see how bright it is. Nice. Okay. This time we'll go back to another similar tool to the Quick Selection tool, and that is the Magic Wand. Now the Magic Wand has been around since version 1 of Photoshop. And I'm going to zoom into this area, a little too close, but nice. Okay, now the Magic Wand, it looks like obviously a magic wand. What this does is it picks out color, but it only picks out certain colors. It only picks out 32 colors. So if I click right about there, it looks at any pixel that touches where I clicked, and it says, are you within 32 colors of what the clicked pixel? And you can see that, well, it doesn't grab everything, but it grabs most things. So if we want to add to this selection area, now this time I'm going to zoom in one more time. Okay, now I'm going to hold down the Shift key. Watch my cursor. I'll hold down the plus sign, and I'm going to pick up little areas of color that I did not pick up earlier. Now this is a little tedious, I must admit. The Quick Selection tool is much better for this. But it does give you the idea that you can continue to add color or add something to your selection. It doesn't even matter if it's a marching ant based, it doesn't matter if it's a magic wand, it's a marching ant based tool. Now here's a section here that is definitely not chosen. I'll hold down Shift and it grabs a lot of stuff there. Now this is a pain in the butt to have to go back and click on every stinking thing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the volume up on my amount of colors that I can choose. So I'm going to turn this from 32, I'll highlight this, and we'll say 60 colors. And I'm going to hit return or enter to tell Photoshop that, yeah, actually enter worked better, to tell Photoshop that I'm done with this number up here. Now when I hold down Shift to add to my selection area, it's going to grab a lot more stuff. And that does a very good job, at least with more colors to choose from. And there's still a few things I could clean up, but by and large, this is a lot better. Now I'm starting to also pick up a little bit of halo around the edge. I'm starting to pick up some white stuff. That's not too cool, actually. For our purposes today, I'm not going to sweat it out too badly. Oop, I just accidentally clicked on white stuff. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let me see. First of all, let me grab this section over here. And that looks nice. Okay, there's a little bit down here. A little bit down there. That's looking very good. A little bit right there. Okay. Now, there's a little chunk right there. That's pretty good. You got to look for this stuff all the time. Those little bitty pixels are sometimes fussy about this. Okay. I'm looking around one more time. Looking good. Okay. Now, notice that the marching ants are going outside the shape. Now it's probably only, in fact, I'll really come in here and it's like 1 or 2 pixels. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I am going to reduce the size of this overall, of this overall selection by going up here to the select menu and going to modify, and we're going to contract. We're going to bring down in size. Okay, and it asks me, how many pixels do you want to reduce this by? Well, I'm going to change this to 2 pixels and watch what happens up this edge. Now, it does cut into the edge over here. Maybe a little bit too much. Let me undo this and try 1 pixel. So I hit Command Z to undo. I'll try this again. Select, modify, because remember, selections deal with select menu. And I'll go down to contract again and set this for 1 pixel and see what this looks like. Okay, it's still grabbing too much white stuff. I'd rather be cut inside than outside. So for this time, I'm just going to do this one more time. I'm not going to undo. I'm just going to contract one more time, 1 more pixel. Boom. Okay, it's inside. As long as we don't have a white halo going around this, then that's okay. All right, now where does this go? This lives up here, kind of towards 1 o'clock, but off dead center. Okay. And I'll get the move tool, letter V. I'll grab this and put it right about there. Nice. Okay, next is the muscle. So now for the muscle tool, we're going to use the lasso tool. Again, this is another tool that's been around, oh boy, since the beginning of Photoshop. I'm going to zoom into this space over here. And I'll tell you, I'm not a fan. You know what? Hang on one second. I'm going to undo that. Command D. I'm going to turn off my mask here because I think this circle around my tool is a little bit confusing. So I'm going to just, hopefully you can watch this as it goes along. Now, what we're going to do here is click and drag, and what it does is it leaves a bit of a, it's called a rubber band that I'm drawing. And actually, it does a pretty lame job of capturing exactly where I need to go. So sometimes, you know, my hand is not steady. This is even worse on a mouse. I'm working on a trackpad right now. And you go inside and outside the shape when maybe you don't want to. And if I'm cutting a selection like this, I really want to be more surgical about the whole process. Now this isn't too bad, but it could be so much better. Quite honestly, the lasso tool is much better for doing like quick garbage type selections that you don't care about. And that does happen now and again. Now I'm going to come back to my origin point. Hopefully I can find my origin point. I really can't find it. I'm just going to kind of close it up there. Okay, and when I let go, look what happens. It leaves marching ants. Now, here's the problem. When I use the move tool, and I'm going to move this up into this section over here, okay, it doesn't look too bad. And when I remove the marching ants, you can see the halo going around this shape over here. You can see this now. There's this white stuff around here. There's white stuff around there. The lasso tool just, it does suck. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command Option Z. This is going to be Control Alt Z on the Windows machine. So Command Option Z on the Mac, Control Alt Z on the Windows. I'm going to go back a couple of times, and there we go, back to our original thing here. I'm going to zoom back in here. Excuse me. Now, the polygonal lasso, I'll just show you right now. This is great for capturing straight edges. Well, this mussel shell is not straight edges. If I close it up here, boom, that's great, but that's not what we need. This tool is better. This is the magnetic lasso. Watch this. Now, I'm at the edge of my, in fact, I'll go right about here so you can see it. I'm going to start roughly at this edge here, and all I'm going to do, I'm not even holding the mouse button or track button down, and what I'm doing is I just clicked it once, like a vanilla click, and all I'm doing is just going around the edge. Now, at this point, I can actually add an anchor point. Okay, an anchor point helps you make your shapes. So I'll click right over here. There we go. And now I'm going in a new direction. That's typically what happens, is that when you go in a new direction, a strong new direction, there we go. It's important to lay down anchor points. And I'll also tell you that if you are working on something that it's difficult for the tool to find your edges and make those anchor points, let's say that I do something crazy like this, okay, and it's making anchor points. Okay, all I've got to do is hit the delete key, and it gets rid of any anchor points it created, and then you can kind of just put yourself back on track. That's the backspace key. I'm going to drop one here. That's the backspace key on a Windows machine. So here we go. I'm still going around this edge here. And again, it's doing a very nice surgical job of finding the edge. I'll drop one there, going a slightly different direction. There we go. Coming around some more. Right about there. And then I can go back and find my origin point right there. And what should happen is a little O that shows up next to my cursor. Can you see that? And I'll click there, boom, marching ants. And I'll zoom out a little bit. I can already tell you, it's a much more surgical selection. And if there's even any extra halo going on around there, that's easily removed because there will only be minimal stuff. So move tool, I'll move this up like this. And I believe there's a rotation involved here. Yes, it rotates counterclockwise, I don't know, 2 or 3 degrees. So for that, again, our friend, the free transform tool, Command T, Control T. And again, it does scaling, which you have to click on a corner point or a side point for that. But if you want to rotate, you're outside the shape like this. And notice how my cursor is now kind of a double arrow, different angle kind of a thing. So now I'll just kind of rotate this. By the way, keep your eye on this field up here. This will tell you how many degrees you're rotating, plus or minus. Okay, so when I click and drag, I'll drop this at about 12 degrees. Right there. And I'll hit the check mark, and we're good. Okay, last thing is the, let's see, the conch shell. And again, we'll use the magnetic lasso. This should actually go pretty easily now. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Okay, so again, magnetic lasso, and I'm going to start at this point here. And since this thing is pretty smooth all the way around, I probably won't have to drop many anchor points at all, unless there's a big contrast change. And by the way, that's the way this tool works. It's actually analyzing the image as I'm going around, and it says, oh, you must want to select where this contrast change is between the orangish shell and the blue and or white. Now see how it kind of blipped out over here? Okay, that's only because the contrast between the shell and the background, whatever that is, cloth, was difficult for Photoshop to see. So I'm just going to kind of go along here, continuing along. I mean, believe me, it's still doing a fantastic job of cutting this selection. Very nice. It almost blipped out there. Now this is still a smooth continuation going around here. I should be able to go back to my origin point with very few problems. And I will drop an anchor point. Well, notice how the O for origin shows up next to my cursor. I'll click there. Boom. That's it. We have marching ants. Now, I believe that goes pretty much in the center there. Cool. So it's actually right between these two. So I'll get the move tool again, letter V, drag that up there, and Command D to remove the marching ants. I'm gonna get a good look at this. That's really nice. Okay. And for our final trick is to clean this image up. Now for that we're going to use the crop tool. Now when you hit the crop tool, notice that it puts marching ants around the entire document. Now I could just draw a box like so and say, okay, this will be the area that I want to crop it down to. But that's really not what I want. So I'm going to cancel this. And what it does, it takes me back to the marching ants around the whole document. And what I want to do is to grab the side of this, and I'll grab the bottom one down here. Okay, and I'm going to hit the check mark, which will crop out all this other stuff that we don't need anymore. It just brings it down to size. Okay, so roughly I've got, kind of the white space there, roughly the same white space over there. Top and bottom look pretty even. I might open this up just a little bit. There we go. And I will confirm this. Boom. Now I just want to clean up this stuff over here. So for that, eraser tool. That's not a big enough brush. I'm going to hit the right bracket a few times. There we go. And wiping it out. There's a little bit of stuff there. Now I've got to be careful not to actually draw on my picture there. So I might need to make my brush a little bit smaller here and there. Actually, yeah, right about there. Again, using the brackets and wiping that out. And that's it. Now, we've got, this is where, if we go back here for a minute, go back to the arrange to up vertical. Boom. Okay, so this is the one we've been working on. This is the one that is the final version. Notice that there is still something going on here. And that is, if you look over at this side, which I'll click on, let's see, move tool, click, Command 0 to fit to window. Ooh, that's a little bit big, but there we go. You notice that these guys have a drop shadow on all their layers. Okay, now in the next movie I'm going to show you how to do this and make layers out of this. This will get you points for the chapter. This constitutes extra credit. See you in a minute.